Well, I'm happy today to be talking about chapter 3 of Fathers of Nations. I hope we are closely following from where we had stopped. Now, this is a chapter I have thought it's suitable to call it Misery and Change, and it runs from page 21 to 45. In this chapter, the author examines Kimani and informs us that he has been a senior lecturer from a plain lecturer in the University of Nairobi. What is surprising is that this was a quite steady or a process that was so fast, from a plain lecturer to a senior lecturer. Having received a PhD at Oxford University, Kimani arrives in this university just when the East African countries are running down their universities, and this is the only institution that is left. He's unfamiliar on most of the things, but he starts with such force, and he demands for relevance as well as urgency of change in the way the institution is run. Now, other members of the institution are a bit, hesitant to follow him and think he might fall very soon. Maybe what we may say it's a foreshadow that possibly might happen, maybe as we go by the chapters. Now, Kimani meets the beauty queen in the campus, and he wins her love. This beauty queen is known as Asiya Omondi, and they are able to marry. After he marries Asiya, he sees a lot of achievement, because remember, he's just young. He's already a senior lecturer, and he has now married the beauty queen of campus. So he believes he has achieved. Now, the chapter also reveals the effect of global recession that eats into African economy, causing inflation, plummeting earnings, and eating up savings of a number of people. Now, of all the people, intellectuals are the most affected, and they become less significant in the society. Few of them decide to join politics because that is one great way of ensuring that you acquire a lot of property, you become prominent, and regardless of the scandals you have to form or bribery, that does not matter because it makes them better. Now, professors desert academics for politics, and that is when corruption becomes the tall order of the day. Elections are prone to rigging as political parties grow day after day. The continent goes for the free market economy, in which private firms and donors dominate Africa. Now, all this is learned in a dialogue that Kimani is having with Tuni, his child, whom we are told was conceived in Tunisia, and that is why her name is Tuni. According to Kimani, politics is a dirty game, and it's only good for felony individuals who are greedy and criminals. But it's unfortunate because now Kimani, remember, he had got a beauty queen, Asiya Omondi. Now Asiya Omondi keeps repeating to Kimani, why can't you get out of the university, follow your colleagues, get to politics? It's such a lucrative place. We need money. She's not happy about the state of affairs of her husband. Now, the author reflects on Africa as one of the most unsafe place to the members of the society, that is the citizens, together with the women. How do we know this? We know this when Kimani is discussing with Tuni, and we realize that we have a lot of people who are hiring now private farms for themselves. We have tourists who must have anti-theft gadgetry. And Tuni says it is so easy to be hijacked. A criminal could even invade your vehicle. Now she reveals that she has been attending a seminar, and in this seminar, the lady who was talking to them has advised them to avoid certain avenues or alleys, and in case you are parking a vehicle in the park and you realize there is a predator in there, you drive so fast and smash it. Look at that. Now this really shocks Asia, and Asia tells Tuni, stop it, you would rather comply. But Sia says, no, I should just smash the vehicle. Now Tuni borrows the father's car, but the father says he will repair it after receiving the next salary. You know, this just shows how the elites have turned into poor people who cannot afford the best life they wish. Now, a day later, Tuni goes to wherever she was heading to, and unluckily, she dies in a road accident. A truck sits on a minibus in which she is the only one trapped, and even though there's a man who calls 999 so that she can be rescued, and they even try to smash the vehicle so that they can get her out, but it does not work. Now Asia and Kimani are at loss. They only have a daughter, Tuni, to bond them, that is. And so after this incident happens, Asia is inconsolable. She seems to be brooding, and Kimani tries to give her time. Unfortunately, when she starts to see the light and smile and seem to be normal, she breaks the news one night. She tells Kimani, I am going to leave. Newborn Walomu has asked me to marry him. Yeah, so Kimani thinks this is because of money and begins to complain, and even asks whether it is suitable for the two old people to be separating at a time like that. But Tuni sarcastically says, do you mean I was too late? I should have gone earlier? What do you know about happiness, Because now, like Kimani thinks even the rich have their own trouble. Money is not all. But at that point, Asia cannot retract. She's firm on her decision, and she leaves in the morning. Kimani is not satisfied by that. I think it's from what African men do. He still feels he should, face or confront Walomu. So the next day he visits Walomu and confronts him about wanting to marry Asia, who is older than him, when he already has 3 beautiful young girls. Walomu is another arrogant man. He does not spare Kimani. Instead, he says all is gold, and he insists that he is gonna die with green grass in his mouth. When Kimani is insulted, he feels like he has been really tasted by this arrogant man, and even abuses Kimani and Walomu. there's a fight that ensues. And after this fight, you can imagine what happened. This is an MP. Another one is just a lecturer. And remember in chapter 2, I told you now the politicians had taken up the ground. They were more prominent. They had a lot of money. Kimani does not have such. So after the fight, Kimani ends up in jail 4 months. What do you think could happen to his profession? Senior lecturer? Will he really be? No, things don't happen that way. He is demoted from a full professor to a senior lecturer now. And it's only until he meets Tad Longway, the Director of Special Projects at the Agency of Governance and Development in Africa, that he's convinced that there may be something ahead of him. Tad Longway says this project is based in Cape Town, and though with a Brit accent, he assures Kimani that he's an African from South Africa, and that he's targeting to see the end of diseases, corruption, poverty, impunity, and ignorance. He reveals that after reading Kimani's books, he believes that Kimani is very important in changing Africa. He can coach or coax people. He can point towards a better future and move towards this future. You know, Tad Longway says he hates violations that results from fury that emerges when the 6 problems engineered by politicians emerge. He adds that AGDA aims to interrogate the status quo of Africa, and Path Alpha should be the way to go. Path Alpha, he says, emphasizes on mobilizing people to will for change. Yeah, to will for change, not to be forced into getting this change. Considering the loss of a daughter, desertion by a wife, and abuse by the state, what do you think Kimani should do? He opts to join this mission so that he can be involved elsewhere. I'll also talk about chapter 4, and that is a chapter I believe can be Fiona for V or A. It runs from page 46 to 65. In this chapter 4, we open by seeing Miss Mackenzie leaving Samount Hotel for the office. There are so many roadblocks, and even though she promises to take few minutes when the boss calls her, it is not enough. She mocks a taxi driver for having given a bribe, and he sarcastically says he will be coming back to be arrested by the same policeman who collected the money. In a flashback, we understand arc number 22. It dates back to July 22nd, 1994, when the Gambia got into conflict and political instability that led to military coups, toppling of government. Fiona is hired on loan by the VOA because the new rule demands that they consider non-Americans in their mission. Now, when she gets into the office, she meets Robert Manley, the chief of bureau, who informs her that she will be in the summit, and she will work alongside Nick, who is a technology expert. Nick informs Fiona that there is a silent listener that reveals a possible threat around the summit, and that possible threat involves 4 strangers who are under an anonymous caller. You remember the anonymous caller, or command rather? Yeah. So Nick plays some of the messages to Fiona, and she is quite amazed that even some of what statements she said about the boss, immediately she had, been interrupted while talking to Abiola, have been captured. So, Abiola is on a new appointment, and therefore she has to go to the summit immediately. On her way to the hotel where the 4 strangers are, she's abducted by a Liberian male who believes she's a street walker in need of pleasure. So there's a name that she's called until Abiola is not able to determine whether it's really her, until she calls Abiola loudly. Abiola intervenes, and there is a real fight that leaves Liberian Mailer on the floor. Immediately after that, Fiona goes into Abiola's room. She offers first aid, and after that, she has to find out whether there's something fishy about Abiola. And indeed, there is. After revealing some details about what Nick has said, Abiola says he is the guide. He is the anonymous caller. Now we know as readers, but do the 4 strangers know? Now, Abiola promises to meet Nick one day. And Abiola thinks that Fiona might be interested in some pleasure, and even offers a drink, but Fiona rejects it and leaves in the night. Now that is the end of chapter 3 and 4. Next time we will be talking about chapter 5 and chapter 6. As you listen to me, you can also critique. Go to the text and find out what have I left, and tell me that though you've done this, you might have left this. You can add information. My YouTube is just open, and I'm a critic, I'm a reader, I'm an analyst, and I like literature a lot. Bye bye.